So welcome, Giselle. It's great to have you on the show.
Welcome to you too. I'm very happy to be with you tonight.
So we've known each other for a while now, and you have just the most incredible business story, and I'm really excited for you to share that with everybody. And you've created like the only Swiss watch brand for women.
Yeah,
And
that is
yeah, and but the story behind your watches and how you developed the brand and everything is just such an incredible story. I'm really excited to finally chase you down and get you on the show because I know you're going to have so much value to share with everybody. So perhaps could you start by telling us a bit about your history? How did you come to start a watch brand and so against all the odds, really?
I used to work for a big watch company here in Vienna, and I was a product manager, and I was in charge of um, a line, a men line, very mechanical, very expensive, top of the range line. And I said to the boss, we should also have a very special watch for women, which has a special meaning, uh, meaning what is the value of time for men. Because during the development of this watch, I could see that men have a very different approach of time than we have as a women. Women, we do things. If you ask a woman, how long do you need to do that? She will answer, it depends. It depends because we do different things together. We don't have the same way of doing things. If you ask a man, he will say, oh, 10 minutes or 3 hours or something very precise. It does not mean that it will be the right uh, precision, but that is the way we are appreciating time. And so I asked my boss, I said, I would like to develop a special watch for women. And he said to me, okay, but you do it as a hobby. You have at your disposal all the facilities of the company, but your job is to develop this other line. And you see, when you work in a watch company, there are many things that can match together. It is like when you have one child or two child, it is not much more work because it go together.
Yeah.
And so I worked for 3 years on this project for men and for women. And at the end, the boss left the company, and the next one say, "Ah, what about a watch for women? They don't they have to wear men watch. Why should we do special watch for women? And we will make a lot of publicity, and you will see all women will wear men watches." And I said, "No, I don't agree. Uh, there is I used when I was young. I used to wear men watches because I didn't very much like women watches. Just the watch of my grandmother, I very much liked, and but she was not working anymore. So and when the boss left, the next one said, "No, we will not continue this project." And anyway, here in this company, I am the boss and I say what we do, and you just have to do what I am asking you to do. When you say that to a creative person, there is, it was for I said to him, but uh, I am a creator. You cannot ask me. Creation comes from something you have inside yourself. It is not something that you can order or something like that. Sure, when you are a product manager, there is things you have to follow, but the creation is from yourself. And so I left the company, and I had a very difficult time because uh, it, I had this project of a very special watch for women. I was really wanting to do it. So I went to visit all the watchmakers in Switzerland, one after the other, and they all said to me, either we don't need you to make a watch for women because we exactly know what women want. Or the other said, women, we are not interested. They are just 10% of our clientele. They just have to wear what we do. We don't want to develop something special for them. So I was there for a few months. And one day I said, it's a pity. I really had this dream of this watch for women, which has a very specific symbolic signification, who means that it is now time for women all over the world. I have also to tell you that I was very engaged in women issue since I can say my childhood. And so I was wanting to show the talent, the creativity of women. So one day I said, okay, if nobody wants to make a special watch for women, I will do it myself. I will create a watch and I will create a company. And that was when my travel began. The day I said, I will do it myself. You see, at the beginning, I was not wanting to create a company. I was wanting to create what I used to say, a talisman, a watch that means that it is time for women right now all over the world. But as nobody was wanting to make it, I have to make it myself. And to make it, I had to create a company. And that is what I did.
That's just such an incredible story. I love that you had this vision, and you just really, more than a vision, it was really a vision and a passion and a drive behind that. And I know that you're quite a determined person anyway, because when you the first woman to have a technical degree in university?
Yeah, yes. When I was 33, I entered the engineer school here in Bienne, and I was the first woman with a degree in computer science in Switzerland, because Bienne was the first engineer school who opened the how to say how to learn computer science. So I was the first woman, but I could see that if I could follow, it was 4 years, you see, 4 years, and finished, I was 40. And I noticed quite quickly that I am too creative to be in an engineer world. I have one part of my mind is very good for engineer ability, but I have the other way to be creative, to be lively, not to be, I am not a computer, you see. I, I am sometimes, people would say chaotic, because I have so many ideas, I want to do so many things. And so I learned for 4 years, and I worked as an engineer for not even 1 year. Well, but today, now, I think that it was the most courageous things I did, to notice that I was going the wrong way. I was not happy in this engineer world. And also, sometimes I was treated like a secretary, you see.
Yes.
I was an engineer and I was treated like a secretary. And I must say, perhaps now it has changed, because not so much. You see, so sometimes I think there are many things in a computer that I like to do. You see, design with computer, website, all these things which are creative, which were not existing 30 years ago. And but now I could perhaps develop some abilities in that field, but it was not present in that time.
Yeah. No, I think it's unfair. I think things have moved forward, but
Yeah.
I remember very distinctly in my career when I actually worked in marine engineering for a while doing marketing and branding. And it was my first week, and one of the directors came and asked me if I could type a fax for him. Fax
Yeah.
shows how long ago it was. And I was like, oh, well, you'd be faster doing it yourself because I don't really type. And he went straight into the CEO's office and he's like, why have we employed a woman that doesn't type? And then the CEO called me on the phone to come into his office. I was like, oh, here we go. This is it. I'm out the door already. And the CEO said, come closer. I said, so is that right? You wouldn't type his facts? I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I don't really type. And I didn't understand that was part of the role here. I thought I was here to do the marketing and branding. He's like, right, I see. He goes, come a little bit closer. And so I came a bit closer and he held out his hand. He shook my hand, and in front of the other director, he said, and never make the coffee either. So I was been very grateful. Actually, I've had a lot of very open-minded bosses throughout my career. So I've had just a great time. So there, I have had people just assume, oh, a woman in the office, she must be the secretary, but also others that have helped me push back and say no.
Yeah.
So I think it's still in the process of change. It could be faster.
Yeah, yes, and we have to work on it, and I think that what you do now, interviewing women who overcome the odds, you see, that can inspire younger women. Because when I was younger, I had at least 3 times very good ideas I could have developed. And I asked and I said, I would like to do that. And everybody was telling me, oh, too complicated. You have your husband, you earn your living quite well. Why would you do something like that? It is so complicated. And at least 3 very good ideas that now somebody else have developed, you see, because it was idea in the, that's it. Sure, it would come, you see.
Yeah.
And I could have done that, but at that time I was not encouraged. I didn't know how to do. I just had the idea, and I tried, but it missed me some confidence. You see, it missed me some encouragement, and because alone, you very often I feel I am lonely, but I have to tell you that, and you can see that here, the empowerment of another woman is a reciprocal gift.
Yes.
And I believe in that. And I have to tell you that if I could overcome the odds and survive, it is thanks to women and some men too, I have to say, also some men, who pushed me, who encouraged me, and so on. And that I could not find when I was young.
Yeah.
You see? Because perhaps I don't know why, but that is why now I spend a lot of time encouraging women, younger women, also older, to trust themselves, to be confident, to develop their talent. And you see, I have created this watch. You can see it.
Yeah.
And you can see it very well on my website. And the meaning of the watch is trust yourself. So you see the diamond shape. The diamond shape is a universal symbol for life. It is the symbol for the warmth, and it's mean life. You have a spiral on the top here, and the spiral is water, and water is femininity, moon, and the stone here at the south is masculinity. It is the sun and fire. And you have the infinity connecting or linking masculinity and femininity, man and woman, water and fire. And that is a symbol of harmony, life, harmony, and spirituality. And I am convinced that women can bring harmony in business. Women can bring harmony also, I am convinced, in politics, can bring harmony. But we have to be determined to do that.
Yes.
And because very often it is easier to se mettre en colère. I don't know how to say in English. Help me to fight. Sometimes it's easier to fight than to find a way to find a solution together. You see, and that is the meaning. And I have developed everything with women. The design, I had the design, the idea of the design, but I worked with a professional designer, you see, to make the plan, to make everything. And also after that, we had to make the prototype. And so I worked with another woman who could make the prototype. And so with different women, but sure, in some company, some company are earned by women, but they are men who work in the company or the opposite. So I can work with men also, even very well, no problem. And so I developed everything. And also the particularity, it is that it is made in Switzerland. And I grown up in Porrentruy. At Porrentruy, from Porrentruy to Bienne, you can find half of the Swiss brand, you see, from there. And so in each family, there are somebody who is involved in watchmaking. And so I could find as a supplier, the artist, the engineer, all the talent to create this watch here, which is 100% Swiss made. And that is for me very important. And also, are you interested that I speak about the idea how I developed the watch?
Yes,
Yeah.
I love seeing how, you know, it's you haven't just created a watch for women. You know, you've really embodied what time means for women, and as you say, the spiritual element, which I think is really important for women as well, is to have more meaning and to build a community and to have all these elements working together, and to have
Yeah.
that represented in your watch is just so incredible. And I think you're right that success is a team effort. You know,
Yeah.
nobody succeeds on their own. It may be your idea, it may be your business, but you need others around you to have that encouragement, to give the feedback, to work with, and that you've also given opportunities to other women who I understand the ones that work on your watches, they are very often they're working from home around their children.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you really, everything about your brand is all about female empowerment, and you also take a lot of your personal time to travel around the world to speak and empower more women, which I just love that all of it is geared in that area, because that's also your experience. But I'd love to know how that all developed as well, and how
Yeah.
you
So
overcame overcame all of the barriers, because you had a lot of barriers.
yeah. So I would recommend, we have, I think, half an hour. If you are very interested, if somebody is very interested to read more about my story, and it is the story of a woman. It is not just a story of an entrepreneur. It is the story of a little girl to a grandmother, but in between different lives. You see, I had many life like every woman, and but what I said when I decided to create the watch, which I will tell you the story about the name after, but when I had decided, I said, I want a watch that a small woman can wear, a tall woman can wear, which is whatever color, if she is white, if she is black, if she is whatever color. I want to create a watch which represents or symbolizes the value, the universal value women share all over the world. And what we share, what is the most important, I know you also very well, and is life. what is the most important. We give life, we organize life, we care for life, and life is at the center. And that is why I choose this diamond shape, which means life. That is very important for us. And the other things that is very important for us, and I also think that is perhaps one of the reasons why we don't go to the top so many. We need harmony. We men can survive in terrible places where it is completely disharmonic. But women, sometimes we will say, no, I will not do that. I don't accept this type of life. I am here not to fight all the time or to be depreciated or whatever. So we need harmony. And all of the world, women need harmony. And the third thing is we need spirituality. When you go, I make yoga, meditation, mandala, and when I go, it's or ikebana, it's all women. It's a kind of spirituality. You see, all these things we do with flowers, with even when we prepare the meal, it is also a kind of spirituality because we put our love, our talent in it. And so all over the world, women care for life, harmony, and spirituality. And that is the meaning of the word. And it also has another meaning, which is very important. You see, we spend some time together. We are always now. And that is the infinity loops remind you to be now, right now, to be present to your own now. And that is something, because I traveled all over the world, and I have to tell you that in the United States or in big cities, people, they don't live now. They live completely puzzled all over you see, there is no restricted. It's difficult to explain what is now. Now is something very bright because it is always now, but also very narrow because it is now just now. Now it is another now, you see, and you always have to be in this now. That is something I was wanting to remind women that when they look the time, the watch tells them it is now exactly 8:20, and it is now.
Yeah, I think that's a great reminder because I'm always having conversations with women, and a lot of my clients, they're very impatient for the future. They have this big vision and they want to do it all now. And of course, we can't do everything at the same time. We can have everything, but we can't do everything at the same time. You have to do things one thing at a time, and to always trust that we're in the right place. Right now, we're in the right place to do what we need to for ourselves and for our businesses, and then to take that next step forward and to continue harnessing the, as you say, the spirituality, that sense of growth and community to help take us in that direction. So yes, have a big vision, but break it down into small chunks so that you can be present in the now, because that's the only reality that we have, and then we can make the most of that right now, to make the most of where we are, what we have, our inspiration, our vision right now, and then that is going to be the springboard to take us into the future, rather than if we're always in the future being impatient or being fearful or regretting things from the past. These are just distractions, and they're not going to help you move forward. So I think that's just such a wonderful thing to keep in mind all the time, and to have that on your wrist as a reminder.
You see,
there is a reminder too.
There is only one shape, you see, because women have the same shape, even they are small, they are tall. Women are women, and what is the watch has this meaning: life, harmony, and spirituality. But I personalize each watch for the woman, to whom I make it. For you, you have your children. We could set a stone at the hour your children are born. You come from another country. We could symbolize your country if you want to remember, just to have this. And each time when you look at your watch, your watch give you the subliminal message. Just you, I am in my country. You see, just for a very short time. Or if you look at the stone for your children, you are with your children, even if they are not there. You see, now you see, that is very personal. This watch is the first watch I made for a mother. It is my mother's watch, and she died last month. So I took it for me, and I had a big diamond from my grandmother, and I asked to set the diamond of my grandmother to my mother's watch. So, and on this watch, you have the stone and the hour my mother's children and grandchildren and grandchildren are born. And so now I am very proud to have this watch for me, because it's a link with my mother, my grandmother, and also my brother and sisters. And so it's a symbol. And this is something, you see, now we are living in a period of time that is it's not easy. You see, my grandson asked me yesterday, Grandma, do you have hope in the future? I said, yeah, yes, I have hope. But he said, how can you have hope? You see, he is 18, and it's a difficult time to be 18 right now.
Yeah.
For young people, you have children of that age around. You see, it's difficult for them. And this watch is also a symbol of hope, that we can really work together to bring hope to this world for our children and grandchildren, for me now.
Mm. There's when you arrive in Geneva Airport, there's a big billboard, and there's loads of watches, of course, being advertised, and there's one, and it's like, you don't buy this watch for you, you buy it for your future generations. But I love that your watch is a legacy, but in a very different way.
Yeah.
You are bringing the generations with you.
Yeah.
You are bringing that representation in such a personalized way. I think that's something very special.
Mm-hmm. And also, you said, you asked me how I find the name for my company. You see, I told you last time we met in no, it was in Greece
It was
last
in
time.
Greece. Yeah, we were in Athens together, weren't we?
Yeah. And you see, do you want me to tell the story of the four-leaf clover?
Yes, tell that briefly, and then I'll come back to you for your biggest tips for women today who are starting out
Yeah.
in business,
Okay.
from your experience.
Yeah. So you see, I had to find a name for my company. And my father died when I was 8 years old. My mother married again. And it was like if my father has disappeared. You see, we were not speaking about him and so on. My stepfather was a very good man. There was no problem. But we were not speaking about our father. And when we were, because we used to meet all the family together, when we are all together, we are 30, you see. And I used to tell, everybody was telling what he was doing. And I said, I am looking for a name for my company. And I don't know. I have an idea, but I don't know. And my stepfather told me, but Giselle, why don't you need your artist name? Because when I was a little girl, I said that, you see, I had dreamed that I would be a ballet dancer or an actress or something. And And my name was Giselle Delance, and Delance is the name of my father. And so all the family was around the table, and I said, do you agree if I use our name for my company? And my brother said, yes, I would be very proud. My sister, everybody said, sure. And that was a long story to register the name worldwide. And I did it. And one day I was speaking in Brussels to a big marketing conference. I was one of the few women speakers. And the theme of the conference was passion. And I was speaking about what I did. I had prepared a PowerPoint perfectly well done, like an engineer could do it. And I was quite serious giving my speech like that. And just before me, there was one of the guru in storytelling. But what I tell you is 20 years ago, even more. It was just in the beginning. I created Delance in 96. So it was probably 98. And she said, he ran on the stage, you see, and he put his hand, he was big. She said, tell me, there is something you don't say about, because you overcome all the odds, but probably there is something very special that happens to you that make you to continue. Please tell us the truth, la vérité. And you see, it was like, but I told you the truth. I explained you everything. Say, no, there is something you didn't say. And just like a flash, I could remember something very important that I had put in the back of my mind. When my father died, and my mother was crying quite often. It was a very difficult time for her. And I was 8 years old, and the only thing I could do is to say, Mom, I love you. My mama, I love you. I am here for you, Mom. And it was the only thing I could do. But as I was born to be happy, sometimes I said, I have to find something to help my mother. And I used to go to a park where there was forgot me not, these little blue flowers, you see, and they had the exact color of my father's eyes. And when I was passing in front of these flowers, as a child, I was saying, "Ciao, Papa." You see, in my mind, it was my father was there somewhere. You see, and that day I went to this place, and I was sitting in the grass, looking at the flower, dreaming a little bit. Suddenly, I saw a little plant. I approach the plant like this. I pick it, and it is a four-leaf clover. And I was so emotional. I took it in my hand, you see. I rushed. My mother had a small shop in the Grand Rue. I ran to the shop. I pushed the door, and I said, Mom, we are saved. I have found a four-leaf clover. And by chance, my mother was a nice woman. She trusted me. She said, yes, it's a four-leaf clover. And she said, I will put it here in my pendant, and I will have it near to my heart. And sure, that will help us. And that day, I was convinced that we could, you see, it was something, I was convinced we could do it. She would overcome, you see. And something happened that I was feeling better. And I don't know, but probably my mother was feeling better too, and so on. And the time was going, and perhaps 15 years later, I was with my mother, and she was grabbing in her bag, you see, like women looking for something. Suddenly she showed me the pendant, Do you remember the pendant? Do you remember? Ah, yes, the four-leaf clover. And that day, I decided that I would do something for women. I was already very involved in women issue in Switzerland to have the right to vote. You see, we had only in 71. And I was acting in that field and things like that. But I said, I am an artist. I can write a book, but I am not a writer. I have to do something, a piece of art. And my father used to be in the watch industry. It's very complicated in a few minutes to explain to you everything. But so suddenly, by chance, how can I say, 40 years later, I was back in the watch industry. No, 30 years later, I was back in the watch industry. I was developing watches. And I had forgotten that my father was in that field, you see. And when I created my company, I took my father's name, and it was an evidence. Is evidence the right word for that?
It was
It
proof.
was evident. It
Yes,
was
okay. Yeah.
that I could not have another name for my company because I created the Delance watch for women, for my mother, for all the mother in the world, for my sisters, for my daughter, for all women I have met in the world. But I have also created for my father and also for all father and for all men to say how important they are for the daughter, for the wife, for their mother, for, you see, it's very important. I This watch is really, I have created something very beautiful. It is my masterpiece, like in the Middle Age, you see. I have put in this watch all what I have learned, all what I know. Uh, Everything is in this small sculpture, such a small sculpture, but inside this sculpture, there is the universal story of womanhood, of love, of infinity.
I just love that story, and it really, and I like the story you were saying about being on stage in Brazil, that you did what a lot of people do, and they go to present themselves, and they want to be a professional, so they tell the kind of boring story, if you like, which is very factual. All the things are there, but what people really love is that story behind it. Why did this come into piece? Why did you have that idea to have this kind of
Yeah.
silent mentor on your arm, and something that's so personal to each woman, to remind them of who they are, where they're going, what their vision is? And I just think that's just so beautiful that you've now embodied all of that story in
Yeah.
your business, and in your the way you inspire other women, and in your product itself. And it's just such a beautiful brand that you've created, and I love seeing how you live it all the
You
time.
see, in the beginning, I was not telling this story.
Hmm.
I was shaming. I could not. When I was speaking about my father or my mother, I was crying, so I could not tell the story. Now I have overcome that, you see. But I could not. I thought, because somebody told me, "Do you want to make business or do you want to be, well, yes, to help the people?" You see, and they were making fun of me when I was speaking about solidarity and spirituality. So I was hiding that. I was not speaking so much about that. But finally, I am who I am. And I have created this watch because of that. And when I speak with women, young women or older women, we share the same story of womanhood. So this watch is the symbol of our femininity, and that is the most important. We don't have to wear a man watch to look like a man. We can have a nice women watch.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that you've really tapped into being yourself and really staying true to your own vision and embodying yourself, your authenticity, your story. And that's something that throughout this podcast, almost every interview I've had, the women have said how it's the moment they had the courage to be themselves
Mhm.
that things suddenly started to come together,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
they could suddenly see that how they could move towards their vision, how things could come together. People started to get behind them and give them the support they needed. Do you have any advice, or what's your experience about how you can find yourself? Because it's not always
it's a long.
clear at all.
I have to say, it is really a long trip, because sometimes you think I have found myself, but 1 year later you say, there is something else to explore. So I have to. I had a aunt who died. She was 90 something, and she said to me, every day I continue to learn something. You see, and that is very important. But what I want to say to women is, trust your intuition. Be who you are. Develop your talent. Be yourself. Don't shame for something because your hair are not like this, or your nose is like that, or whatever. And it's not important. What is important is to be who you are and to develop your talent, and don't spend time for other things. And the second thing I have to say, and that is more practical, uh, develop your network,
Mm.
because we touch together, we spend some times together. You belong to my network. We don't see each other very often, but I know that if I need something, I can call you. I hope that you will call me if you need. You see, or perhaps it will not be for you. It can be for one of your child, or it can be for somebody else. But remember, you know somebody who could know somebody who knows somebody. But it's very important uh, in our network. Um, in French, we say to renvoyer l'ascenseur, to send back the lift. You see,
Yeah.
that if you help me, I help you, and everybody knows that it is a reciprocal gift that we make to each other, and that is very important. Develop your network. And the third thing is what I am doing now. Tell your story, true story. Don't hide uh, something that you think that, it is too sentimental. I am a woman. If I say that, people will laugh, or will say, oh, that is a story for a woman. You see, your story belongs to you. If you tell your story with authenticity, with your heart, I will not say that you don't have to learn how to tell your story. That is the opposite. Learn to tell your story very well and very authentic, and that is look very natural. But learn, go to the Toastmaster or go to other place where you can learn how to tell your story, so that you are authentic, so that you are true, so that people trust what you say. And that is, so first, trust your intuition, develop your network, tell your story.
Yeah.
Voilà.
And I think all of those points are so important, but even more so now when there is so much uncertainty around us. We don't know we never know what the future is going to look like. But even now, I think if you can trust your intuition and be guided from within, it's more important than ever. And I see that network is even more important too. It's not just about having 5,000 people on your LinkedIn profile. It's about having people around you who understand your mission and are there to support you, and for who you do exactly the same, who you have that connection, you are inspired by their journey, and you're there to support them, as you were saying. It's that's more important than having thousands of people, but having this kind of support network, a success circle, I like to call it, around you. And it doesn't have to be massive, but it has to be meaningful, and you have to know those people and have connections. And as you said about this story, my background is all in communications, and the biggest thing I see misunderstood about communication is that communication is information, and it's never been about that for me. It's always been about how you use that information to create connection, meaning, and value. And the best way to do that is through your story.
Yeah.
That's how you really connect with the right people, like-minded people, and how you can inspire people as well, because they can really get to know who you really are and trust your path, where you've come from, and join you on that journey. And that's when the magic really happens, I think. So amazing advice. Thank you so much, Giselle.
So if you want to know more, you can find my story on Amazon.
We'll put a link to your book on the page, so they have a link directly to go and
yeah, you can do that. Yes, and it is now in German. It is soon in French and Spanish, and we are working on the Chinese version and the other version, but that takes time, and it's a lot of work to make the translation each time.
Yeah. And English? It's in English as well?
Yes, the original is in English.
Okay.
So if one day you want to speak about write your story, you can ask me, because it is a story in itself to write your story.
I love that. But Giselle, thank you so much for taking the time to share your amazing story and all about your brand and your advice as well for other women. It's always a joy to hear from you. And it's just been so valuable. Thank you so much.
It was also a very grand plaisir, great pleasure to speak with you and to see you. And I hope that we will see each other in reality very soon.
Yes, I would very much like that.
Yeah.